Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and I'm out for another walk and talk, just enjoying a little bit of the countryside here in the United Kingdom. And well, we're going to be talking crypto. We're going to be talking about some of the recent things that have been going on with Bitcoin, specifically, in terms of price action and all of that good stuff. So as I get into today's video, if you do find it useful, informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. So, Bitcoin. It's been an interesting few weeks, right? It's been moving up quite aggressively. It's definitely seen some new higher highs, which is great to see, of course. It's always great to kind of get that kind of, green in the market, a portfolio looking healthy, and all that kind of good stuff. However, we do have to kind of be a little bit open-minded as well. I have seen the comments in the YouTube section as well. Lots of kind of negativity because people don't really want to acknowledge the other side of the coin, which is, for every bull there is a bear, right? And I'm being accused of being like a perma-bear, right? Why are you always so bearish is what I'm seeing inside the comments. And well, I kind of want to address that a little bit here because it's really hard to be bullish when the data is really contradicting a bullish movement, okay? And so we kind of spoke a little bit about this in the Bitcoin video that I put out this morning, where we do essentially see that the data for Bitcoin is very unusual, right? We have seen price action be aggressive to the upside, but what would normally drive the price action is a little bit odd, okay? So in order to get price to go up, you really only need two things to happen, right? You need an increase in demand and a decrease of the supply, right? And so if we actually acknowledge what's going on at the moment, we do not have that increase in demand, and supply really hasn't changed all that much. You could potentially argue, in fact, more supply is made readily available. And so it's a bit unusual for price to react to the upside the way that it is doing. So we have to consider that something else must be going on outside of the basic, supply-demand metrics, right? And so when you start digging into this stuff, you start to acknowledge that maybe things are not quite what they seem. And you can put your tinfoil hat on, you can have your conspiracy theories, you can do lots of different things to kind of help you justify why price is moving up and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, for the most part, it always comes down to, typically, supply and demand. And well, we don't really see, it's a bit too muddy down there, and we don't really see the standard stuff that we would be expecting for price movements to the upside in the way that you would expect, right? So why do we see price moving the way that it is? And well, there's definitely speculation out there that ultimately the price is only moving because of Bitcoin spot ETFs or a Bitcoin halving, right? These things are very easy concepts for retail investors to understand, and because they see price moving up, they then assume that the price is moving up simply because there's Bitcoin spot ETFs and people are speculating that essentially the price is going to go up because of a Bitcoin spot ETF, or because, in a few months time from now, we're going to have a Bitcoin halving event, right? And these are all great, but they are not logical in the same way that you would have, some concrete kind of stats around supply and demand, right? It's very speculative. It's pretty much just driven from emotion, right? And that's a retail mentality. And they're not wrong by this, because you can see that it is retailers or retail money that is essentially trying to push the price of Bitcoin upwards. And you can see this also within the stats, right, which actually for the most part are very unimpressive when we take a look at wallet counts and the amount of Bitcoin that is held by a specific type of wallets, right? Retail investors being, basically 1 Bitcoin or lower in terms of how much they hold. And really, they're not doing a lot. There's a little bit of an increase recently, but that's only to balance out the decrease that they had not that long ago as well. From the whale side, 1,000 Bitcoin or more, also nothing really happening. Very, very flat. And so we have to kind of consider that maybe something else, outside of retail investors and whale investors are at foot here. And really, there's only a couple of other options. And I'm going to kind of hang my hat on market makers. Market makers are potentially the ones that are behind this move to the upside. And hear me out, my justification for this. My justification for this comes down to really just the fact that price is moving upwards without any real logical explanation to see why that would be the case. And we also have to consider the very people who were in financial difficulties, market makers, exchanges, before price started to move up at the beginning of the year, okay? Now we can talk volume as well, right? We can see in January of 2023, all the way through to about March, late February, early March, volumes for Bitcoin were very, very high, or at least higher than they are right now. We're about a 60% reduction on volume in the last 6 months than we were previously. And so we start to think to ourselves, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for volumes to be decreasing, yet Bitcoin's price to be increasing, whilst the wallet counts are very stagnant. This basically tells me that there's potentially something else at foot here. And to me, the obvious answer there is going to be market makers. Now, this wouldn't be unusual. It's not something that would be new to the world at all. And something that I think could explain a lot around the most recent price action of Bitcoin. But what does it mean? And what does that mean for the future of Bitcoin? Well, like these things that typically do happen and from time to time, and market makers are able to manipulate the price action of assets, well, typically these things are only done because they can make a quick buck, okay? So where things go up, they do eventually come on down. Now, I've been talking to a few people, I'm not going to mention names, not obviously, influencers and things like that, not project teams necessarily, but there's some interesting things happening out there, okay? And so without kind of dropping in too much information that could potentially lead to other individuals kind of being exposed and stuff like that, I think for the most part, we should expect a big move to the downside. And these things are going to be incredibly interesting when they do start to unfold, right? And that's a big if, because again, it's possible that this is all very natural and it's all organic and it's happening without any interfering. I put that in the wildcard category though. I think for the most part, what is happening is not natural, it's not organic, and it is going to end in disaster. And so I'm expecting FTX to start selling off their assets at a profit. They're going to start extracting all that money from the market, and we're going to start to see bigger moves to the downside. But it won't just be FTX by any stretch of the imagination. I think most of these exchanges will have been playing the field quite a bit and will be looking at taking aggressive profits off the table. Or taking profits off the table aggressively, if I can get my words out in a proper sentence, that is. And so I think for the most part, this means a huge opportunity for retail investors who are willing to actually look at the data rather than just candlestick patterns on a chart. And even on the charting side, you can draw a trend line as much as you want. There's a lot of other things going on from the charting side that actually give me a lot of area for concern. Specifically, as we hit upper areas of resistance, we finish our wave structures, the only place really to go is down. And so CME gap down at $20,000 to $21,000 is the obvious play in my opinion. But that might not stop there. That super bearish pattern that could play out over the next 2 years could see Bitcoin and the crypto market completely decimated. We could see Bitcoin moving down to sub $10,000 if the market makers are the ones behind everything that is going on. It's really going to shake the space quite massively. So I kind of wanted to put a video out there today to kind of just talk about how there's a lot of bullishness out there, right? And the sentiment, and it comes down to the very basic stuff that we talk about all the time, right? You should be greedy when people are fearful, and you should be fearful when people are greedy. Right now, their market is incredibly greedy. People are just believing that they're in a bull market, the price can only ever go up, and essentially, this is what leads to disaster. So the warning signs are right there. Not only are we kind of reaching upper areas of patterns on the price action, we're hitting resistance, the volumes are low, we're in an incredibly greedy and FOMO-esque kind of environment in terms of the crypto retail investors. The markets are very, very stagnant, and ultimately, the only reason that price is moving up, in my opinion, is that there is a third party or multiple third parties involved in artificially inflating the price of Bitcoin. And to what end? Well, it all comes down to money, doesn't it? So let me know what your thoughts are on all of this in the comments below. I wanted to kind of justify my reasoning and my rationale behind why my videos at the moment seem so bearish in the light of so much bullish bullshit that is out there at the moment, right? Because a lot of these other kind of influencers, whether they were on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube or Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it these days, they're just drawing trend lines on charts, telling you that the price can only ever go upwards, and really that's not doing you guys the right kind of service. Essentially here, I'm looking at the data, it's not making a lot of sense, and I do not trust these markets to not pull that rug from beneath you. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, but I'm going to leave this video right there. If you have found it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, and if you haven't yet joined us in Discord, check it out. Link is in the description down below. It's a fantastic community, talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and I don't think you'll be disappointed by what you find down there. Until the next one, have a fantastic day.